How was the research culture in Japan?
Yes, actually, see, there is institute in Japan for research in world also, because and there are 70% of
This question because most of the time I see PhD students are in their labs only.
you are starting things with some big project, but you are not completing that project. This is the some new idea or some collaborator from which you can gain the knowledge and finish that you are going to put your papers and what is the novelty of the work. Because if
A PhD usually takes much more time than in other countries.
yes, see, so we need to be more focused.
So now
2 years, then you are in a stress-free situation. Then you can do by yourself. You can try something.
So, hello, how are you doing?
I'm fine. What about you?
Great. Okay. So, let's start with your research. So, what are you doing currently in research?
So currently I am working in ferroelectric materials, like for application purpose, like for energy harvesting actuator and different properties uh, with the substitutions of various elements and playing with various instruments. So generally we're working on these energy storage materials.
Okay, great. So, currently you are in IIT Hyderabad, fourth year student.
Yes, currently I am completed my fourth year in IIT Hyderabad. So I also have done 6 month research in between in Japan, NIMS Japan. So
Okay.
yeah.
So could you tell me about your Japan research? How was your experience there?
Okay, if I'm starting from IIT Hyderabad, it's better because we can correlate both the research in Japan and India. So
Yeah, sure.
uh, so what about in India? We have like facilities very less as compared to Japan. So if a newcomers come to research institute or some IITs is thinking to do some advanced research like in any kind of fields, but you are not getting that much of scope in India. So
Yeah.
what the funding is limited in India as compared to Japan. So basically, the instrument facility is biggest difference between India and Japan. If you want to pursue some research in Japan, then it is very easy for you to carry every experiments within
Yes.
some time frame and some. And yeah, the professors are also helpful. Here also helpful. Actually, PhD is like that. You have to do all of the things, like from starting from choosing a research career topic to doing research. So it's a independent kind of things because you are now not in BTech or MTech. Someone is teaching you and you are getting much. So it's kindly independent things. You have to do everything by yourself. So yes, this is the biggest difference is this instrument facility and the working hours. Like we in general in Japan, there is a strict rules. You can follow the timelines from morning 8 o'clock to evening 5 o'clock. But in India, maybe research there is no such much constraints. But it also a benefits for student like a flexible hours. If you want to do research in your time, you can do at night also. So yeah, these are the some points. So in
Okay.
Japan.
So, what about their research culture? How was the research culture in Japan?
Yes, actually, see, there is one in research. If you talk about research, then in Japan, there are research is about some target purpose. Like if you want to explore some properties, like in India, they are generally exploring the different properties of materials. They are not targeting a particular properties. Like they are targeting some values generally. Generally, if I am talking about my field, if you consider there are peoples are working in energy storage, Japan also in India also, they're in a ferroelectric matrix, but they are targeting a value like a certain value, if something 11 joule per CNQ or something like that. But in India, the research is not so much targeted, but it's okay. Yeah, our basic knowledge from it is compared to Japanese researcher, I can say. Like our basic background is clear. Yes, this is the one biggest point because we learn everything from basics, like from solid state, BSc or MSc or BTech or MTech, or everything. Our basic is clear, but due to this not facilities are not good in India. That's why you have something like behind Japan. Otherwise, actually is very well in research.
So did you feel language barrier in Japan?
Yes, firstly I feel because in their every instruments they are in our own language. Like in Japanese, I have to learn something as the Japanese language, and I have to read. And so yes, there is. This is the basic, like most difficult thing in Japan is the language barriers. Other thing is fine, and so yes.
And what about their mindset that people are doing the PhD or the masters in Japan and in our region?
Actually, yes, yes. Actually, in Japan, the mindset is people like after masters, they are getting very good jobs, which is not possible in India because there are so many companies. Yeah, they are providing like semiconductor companies, some electronics companies. There are so many companies are there. But in India, the facility is less. If you are doing masters, you are I end up with this PhD or something else like some teaching job or something like that. But industry facilities for I'm talking about for MSc student like MSc physics, chemistry, so master students. But in Japan, what I feel they are not so much motivating doing research because they are obviously getting the jobs and high like the same salary as a postdoc or PhD student. They are getting job in some companies. This is the difference, and that's why the Japan people's like Japan professors are so much interested in Indian researcher because they are doing research very passionately. So they call the Indian researcher to their institute to do control experiments, and obviously they are hardworking also in Japan people. So
It means our PhD students has a demand in the Japan.
yes, yes. When I visited this NIMS, this is the one of the most famous institute in Japan for research in world also, because and there are 70% of in the Indian researcher are Indians, postdoc and PhD. If you see,
Okay. So as we heard, like the Japanese people are the workaholic peoples. What do you think
yeah,
about it?
yes, actually they are very workaholic. Like they are from morning to evening. They are doing the work only, and the mixing of between the people is very less. Like exchange of ideas and something is very less. In India, there are something like you can find like you have some collaboration or something like that. But in Japan, they are mainly independent researcher. They are don't depend on anyone, and they are as compared to in normal lifestyle, they are very lonely in their life. Actually, you can see they are only doing the research and doing their job, but that's it. So I can feel correct.
Okay.
So,
So let's come to the your lab culture. So
so
and your friends also in the PhD. So how does it matter in PhD journeys? Your lab culture and friends.
yes. So in generally, this lab culture is very much demanding in PhD and your seniors or juniors because they are also because if you are doing experiments, then without instrument and experimental is nothing. Okay? And you cannot look after every instrument. In India, I am talking about India, and the professors in India not so much curious about the instrument is working or not or something like that. You have to work out like if you have a senior or junior, you have to like work in a coordinate between them, and we have to look after the lab. And yes, there's you have to maintain some lab protocols also as a senior or junior without there because if you are getting some good seniors, then it is very good because you learn something from your seniors and you are pass on to the same thing to your junior. But in case of if you have a not a senior, then you are the senior, so you have to look every instruments and funding. You have to write projects, and yes, this is the big thing. So in my case, in our lab, so when I joined in 2020, so my senior is there. Two seniors are there, so they are just writing their thesis. So I learned every instrument from them step by steps, and after that, I independently starting research. Obviously, you failed many times at starting. So that simultaneously, if you keep on doing the things, we will learn everything. So, but from starting, you have to more focus on your research. For an experimentalist, you will have to learn every each and instrument how it is working and what is the principle behind this because this is the basic what you have to learn.
Yeah. Actually, I asked this question because most of the time I say PhD students are in their labs only.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, it is a good thing. Actually, I personally like PhD because the working hour is almost flexible. As you compare with the technology or some companies, their working hour is 9 to 5. Okay. In my case, I'm not like I'm working 9 to 5. If I am motivated, like I am interested to work 9 to 10, 9 to 1 o'clock, then it's fine. After that, I am just take a break. After that, a whole night I can study or I can read or I can do experiments. So this is the best thing I can find in PhD. Other in jobs, I am not finding that much of time flexibility, and this is the thing. This is the best thing in PhD. You can do by yourself. In night also, there is no one. You can perform your experiment, and everything is there in your hand. If you learn the equipment, then you can do anything. Uh,
Even one thing I understand, like the researchers has so much stress in their lives. Real, like they have to handle their personal life as well as their professional life in the research also. So, as I know about you, you have published 7 research papers in your PhD. So, how did you manage?
Yes. See, what happens when a newcomer's coming to this, like IIT or something like that, you basics should be clear, because without your basic understanding in your field, you're not depending. There are some RPS is there, like a research proposal seminar, and some comprehensive exam is there. So it's better to understand everything in your field if you are going to do starting to do research. So after that, in first year, you focus on this learning the reading as much as papers, like research papers, and they are and some in learning instrument at a times, because if you are in morning you are learning some instrument, and afternoon you can read some papers, because learning and doing experiment at the same pace. Otherwise, some people what is this, some researcher, they first learn the things, after some days after they start experimenting. But what happens when you are doing some experiment, you are failing, means you are not remembering what you did previously. So it's better to part by part study, like morning shift we can read, and afternoon shift we can do experiments. In my case, I do like that. What happens from morning shift, I read a lot, like my research topic, my research paper, recent publications, and then
Okay.
afternoon session I start experimenting with these things, like how they are doing, how which specially in our lab, how can manage with the things. So this is the best thing. And from starting, you should target something, like I can learn this thing, I can write like this, and you don't choose any, like you have to choose a specific project, or you can get something like for starting you can choose some big project, but you are not completing that project. This is the big issue. PhD students are facing stress because they are choosing such a topic no one is working. It's good if you are exploring the topic, but if you don't know the basic about this topic, then how you are going to explore such a big topic? So after 3 years, if your project is not going well, then obviously stress is common. Stress is there. So
So, one more, like in the research, can you maintaining your hobby also, like playing sports or
yeah,
doing something else?
actually, if I'm my hobby is like I'm generally played with. There are one or two friends are there. Actually, they are engaging with activities like every evening we go for running and this gym. And in IIT we are maintaining the things like 3 years, 3 years completely. I don't miss any times the gym, and this is a running every activity, because in whole day you are sitting or doing something. You are not moving your body. Okay, and obviously, if I'm doing nothing, then stress will be come out, because physical activity is zero in case of PhD. That's why some people are like stressed because they are doing nothing in PhD. They think only about lab and about work. So obviously, physical activity is main key. So you have to do something for your physical health also.
So, I have a question. Like, let's say there is a some guy in the PhD at the in the third year or fourth year. So
Okay.
he's stressed out because the paper has not published till late, and he's working hard. So, what your advice to him or her?
Okay. So I'm thinking, if you are genuinely working hard in a project, then there is something you can come out with. Like, yes, there are so many experiments are there. Here the failed many times you failed in an experiment, but there is a main thing in a PhD. If you are starting a PhD journey, let's divide the PhD project into two projects like A and B. If option A is not working, then there should be option B. Okay.
Oh.
Otherwise, if you are working on a project A, if you are failed in after 3 years, then nothing is there. So choose like that. Choose one a big problem and a small problem. Work parallelly on the both project. Okay. So if the project A is not working out, then there must be project B is working out. Like something easy, not tough like that. So there must be at least two projects in your hand at a time. Otherwise, if you failed one, then you can succeed in one. Or otherwise you are in depressed. So for me, if you are something struggling in third year, fourth year, in like you are not getting the data published, so it's better to you cannot leave the project at the third year, fourth year, because you are already spent so much time, like your 3 years or 2 years. So it's better to repeat the experiments or some new idea or some collaborator from which you can gain the knowledge and finish the experiments. Not because your result may not be so much interesting, but also if you are failure, then also you can write like that. I am trying like this, I am trying like this, something I am getting. Obviously, this value is not this much, but it's okay. So
So as a top
now that
paper, yes,
yes. Well, actually, my
yes,
message is don't target so much big. So start with a small. Step by step, we'll don't first you target not a nature paper or something science paper like that. Start with a small journal with low impact factor. It should be a Scopus index. Then you can obviously in like first starting paper, I publish my impact factor 6 impact factor journal. After that, now I am publishing about 11 to 12 impact factor journal, because you know your field, how people are working. If firstly I am targeting for a 30 or 40 impact factor nature, then there should be stress and you are so obviously like that you have.
yeah, that's the important point actually. So can you give us some advice to write a paper?
Yes. Before going to start any work, you should must have an objective of this work. Like what I am going to get from this work, like some values, some experiments, some new theory, something like that. Then only you can start your work. Some people are doing like that. They are doing the work. After the result comes, they start writing. Then the problem will come how to write the paper. So before performing any experiment, you have to read a lot of papers, research paper. Like in your field, at least 4 to 5 review paper is better, because in review paper there are so many data are there, so many papers are there. So it's better to write 4 to 5 review papers in your field. After that, you can start writing. By you can see first you can find where is the research gap, like what I have done and how I can serve to this country or something in this research. So after that, you can start writing your result. You can see your data, and I can see same types of data is already published or not, because this is a biggest thing in PhD. If you are doing some experiments, you are getting some data. If you can see in internet somewhere, someone is already published the same data like you. If you are doing same experiments, it's happened with me also, because the Chinese peoples or Chinese researchers are so much active in this field, like research something. They are publishing so many research papers. So it's yeah, it's a look into the daily publish how much paper in your field is published, what types of currently in your field, what types of uh, material methods they are performing. So after that, you can start writing. First, see your data. From the data, you can create your contents, like what contents you are going to put your papers and what is the novelty of the work. Because if you submit some paper in journal, they first write the reviews, first write the what is the novelty of your work, like how your work is different from other works. Okay, so it's better to create first write like that, like a make kind of things. This is the novelty, this is my work, how it is different from others work. After that, you can write this. At last, you can write the introduction also. First, you can write to summarize your work. After that, at last, write the introduction, because you have to modify the introduction according to your contents. So yeah.
Yeah, great. So as what I understand from the PhD life as a researcher life, so conference is also important for point for you. So how do you handle conferences like networking with the other people? Can you tell you about your
Yes. Actually, yes. Actually, in PhD, networking is very a big thing later, because sometimes what happens, in your lab some instrument is not working. Some theory you are reading, but you are not going to understand what is like that, how to correlate with your work. So there come the collaborations where you can, in IIT also, if some facilities is not there in your lab, you have to utilize the facility because it's important for your experiments, like your data or for your methods. So you have to collaborate, you have to write to the professors directly. Otherwise, even now, there are some central facilities are there in every IIT. You have to pay and work with the experiment. This is the type of experiment. If your instrument is not working, then you can do the experiments like that. If you are trying to understand something or collaborate with someone, then you directly mail to them, sir, I am interested in this work. In this mail also, you have to mention like that, I have gone through this paper, your research paper. This is similar to of this my work. So I want to collaborate with you. Or it's better if your professor write a mail to them, like, we want to collaborate. This is the study. I have done the study that much, and this is the extended version. I want to do with you like that. And these collaborations matter so much in your future perspectives. Like if you are going to for doing a postdocs or some things, when you went to this conference Taiwan, there is some international conference. There is big companies come, and you can talk with them. They have several varieties of ideas are there. Their conference within motivation, you can find many ideas. If you are stuck in a problem and you can go to this conference, there are several these people are in your field. You can ask your, like, discuss about your problems. You will be your, how can you can overcome the problems. Yes, conference is very much important for you.
Okay.
Like, PhD.
Now I have the question, as you experiences the research culture in Japan also. So what do you think in India completing a PhD usually takes much more time than in other countries?
Yes. See, firstly, this coursework. Actually, in India, IITs and every research institute, there is coursework. But in Japan, there are no coursework. You are starting your PhD with day one in the lab. Okay. But in India or IITs, in my case, I am doing completely 6 months in just reading the same quantum mechanics, classical mechanics as in MSc. This is not going to help with my research at all. So this is the main drawbacks of the Indian culture, because you're 1 month, 1 year completely gone with this coursework, exams, and something like that. You are not doing research at all. You are just going to lab or some learning something, not at all focusing on your. This is the one thing. And the second thing is, in Japan, their facilities are like, if you have in IITs also, if you have one same systems, right? You can see there is some synthesis systems, one system, but in Japan, in same institute, you can see there are 3-4 same systems are there. One is not working, then another is working. But in India, what happens, if your system is not working, you have to work at least 6 months to be there, because the funding issue is there. So these are the main factors for a PhD students about like completing for 5 years, 6 years in India takes long times. And the
Okay.
depends upon your supervisor also. When your supervisor is, because they are so much working in many things, and research institute, they are only working on this research. But in IITs, they are supervisor all the for classes also. They are teaching to MTech, BTech also. And after that, they are doing some dean or something like that in position also. They have to, if you are going to submit some paper, you have to send to your supervisor, and then your supervisor give approval to you, so you can submit now. See, this is the pre-op. And in some cases, my colleagues, like my PhD students are, like my seniors are submitting thesis this year. The thesis evaluation takes at least 1 year to complete because of this thesis supervisor or something like that. So this is the main thing.
So okay. I have one question now. Let's say, as you see the workaholic culture in Japan, do you think
Yes.
for the development of our country, workaholic nature is need for us, necessary for us?
Yes, obviously, workaholic nature is needed for us. Like we also to do work hard for developing our country, but not like that. You only work, and everything. Not like that. But yes, we should be more focused towards our research work, because they are completely focused towards their work. One, but in India, we are not like that. In IITs, we are not toward like that much focused as compared to Japanese peoples.
Okay.
So yes, we need to be more focused.
So now at the end of this podcast, I want to actually the big topic. Like, what is your advice to students who just started PhD or who want to join PhD?
Okay, so just if you want to do PhD, better to rethink again if you are going to spend your vital times like your career peak time in doing research. And this is not like that you are paying a huge amount of money from research. This is the about your interest and about your passions. PhD is nothing, it's about interest and passion. If you have a not interest and passion in your mind, then for my concern, you don't come to PhDs. If you are want money or something like that, please don't come to PhD because you are going to face several financial issues also in PhD. But if you want to passionate about your work, about science or something, learning new things, then it's better suitable for you. You can come to PhD. And before coming to PhD, there are certain things that you have to evaluate, like PhD supervisor matters much in India. If you are doing research in India, then 80% role your PhD is going well or not, it depends upon your PhD supervisor. Because in every scenario, if you compare like that, if you have a parents in your home, your father role is doing your supervisor in your institute. Because if you are going to some conference, there also PhD's right signature should be needed. Approval should be needed. If you are going to further study, their PhD approval, PhD supervisor is needed. So it's better to choose a good supervisors like from before joining to PhD. Like you can see their profile in the internet, how much paper they are publishing in recently last 5 years, and how they are like past members are certified. So it's better to look after the profile of the supervisors. After that, like, if you are doing in the experiments, then labs should be well maintained and instruments should be there. If you are, let's see, you are joining a new professors, uh, then there should no instruments are there in the lab. What you will be do if you are doing experimental physics? Then what you will do? So this is something matters to a new join PhD student. You have to look for the supervisors. This is the main thing. And second thing is it's better to target some research published papers from within 2 years of your journey. You want to complete in your time even, it's better to target something. It's not should be so much high impact factor journal, should not be some big journal, but it's at least you should publish something in 2 years, and then you can show that this much of work I had done in this 2 years. After that you can carry for, because they are in IITs, they need only 2 papers for getting PhD degree. If you are completing this in 2 years, then you are in a stress-free situation. Then you can do by yourself. You can try various of methods like various technique you can use in your ability. You can publish very paper or you can stop your work there.
So yeah, great. And thanks for joining us and giving your insights to our podcast.